Is the Georgia football program a monster? That's the way that Bob Stoops described Oklahoma. Stick with me here for a second. There's a couple things to discuss in this because it's kind of a curious conversation that Bob Stoops had being recognized today by the legislature in Oklahoma. He said that while being head coach there for 18 years, he had this to say. Bud Wilkinson, if you don't know who that is, he's the Oklahoma coach from the 50s and in that era. Bill Wilkinson created the monster that Coach Switzer always is referred to, and I had to deal with it for 18 years, and it's a monster, but I loved it. I wonder if there's really any other way to describe these programs other than monsters. I mean, let's keep in mind how successful Bob Stoops was in his time at Oklahoma. He only won one national championship, but he played for more than one, that's for sure. He lost to, I think off the top of my head, that he played for three. One in 2000 when they won it. Am I getting that wrong? No, they did win it in 2000. And then 2003 when they got blown up by LSU, and then 2008 when they lost to the Gators. They may have played another one in there. Anyway, the point is, Bob Stoops is a successful head coach. He's one of the only, I think he's the only person in the BCS era to win all four major bowl games. Same coach. That at the time was Sugar, Rose, Fiesta, and Orange. So he won all of those games. But would Kirby Smart describe the program as a monster while he's head coach in front of media? I don't know, but that's what it is. I mean, everybody on here knows how long I've covered the program for, long enough to produce a book, right? Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION before going to the fifth printing, which is coming up soon. And when that happens, it's tougher for me to get you all the books because I got to order them and get them. We print them in Marietta. These are printed in Marietta, so keep that in mind too. I wonder if Kirby would describe um, the University of Georgia's football program that way if you gave him truth serum. And in the time that I've been at Georgia, uh, I would describe it as an ever-growing monster. In the beginning, Jim Donnan's first year at Georgia was probably and it's not about Jim, was probably the low point. That might be, I don't, it was kind of bad at that point, okay? And from that point until today, for the most part, it is generally speaking grown. What Jim did from the 96, I would almost say Auburn game on, but the loss to Georgia, the loss to Mississippi a week later was not great. But from 96 on, generally speaking, the program has moved forward and progressively gotten better. Alabama, I think you could say, has generally speaking gotten better over the last 25 years as well. Um, you can't really say that about a lot of folks. Oklahoma, I think, is probably in that category, although they didn't peak this year. And they really were thrown a major curveball with Lincoln Riley leaving. And that's where this line of questioning comes in from Bob Stoops. He said, my first mission was to remind everybody, players, community, everybody at the university, that Lincoln Riley didn't invent football at OU. It didn't invent OU football. Okay, everybody needed a wake up call because they kind of slipped into thinking that he did. Yikes! Wow. Okay. Um, you know, at Georgia, the real change and it becoming even more larger was the '02 season, and that of course was built on the back of what Jim Donnan did, pulling those kids in 1999, just before the 2000 season. Um, it was a I don't think there's any other way to describe the program at Georgia other than a monster. I think most coaches could describe their programs that way. There's just so much that you have to do on an everyday basis in order to keep your head above water. And um, I've seen Georgia's athletic department grow from not even $40 million 21 years ago to over $180 million. I don't know what it will be this year, but it will be significant. The contract for Nike is coming up in 2 years. The revenue from the Southeastern Conference continues to grow. I'm sure that sponsorships and so forth for the athletic department is going to continue to grow. My suspicion is contributions will be up. Uh, and all of those little $1 million are adding up to real big dollars in terms of the bottom line at Georgia. Um, when I was in Josh Brooks is a little bit younger than me, not much. When I was in graduate school with a lot of the folks that now are athletic directors in other places or working in the athletic department at Georgia, um, there was a time when you didn't necessarily need a background in finance or experience in the business world necessarily to be a good athletic department or athletic director. And anymore, I it almost feels like you need to understand business and it not just be the business of football. There's all sorts of aspects of this job that you see. I mean, and frankly, I think he's a very good coach, but it seems like Dabo Sweeney's getting overwhelmed with everything that's coming at him right now. And it's possible that that's one reason why Bob Stoops got out of the whole thing. I mean, you don't just coach football anymore. You have to deal with a marketing message, which is something that not Jeff Collins, has really done a good job of at Georgia Tech. He's just not won football games, which is the other part of it. And the other part that, like for instance, a guy like Jeremy Pruitt really, really struggled at was making friends and getting money from them in the form of donations. It's challenging. It is a challenging job, and you got to really be interested in it. I think Nick at Alabama and Kirby at Georgia are the best fits right now. I think you could have said that for a while for both of those two at their two schools. I think Dabo for a long time has been a very good fit, and I think he will continue to be a good fit at Clemson. I wonder if the tectonic plates of college football are shifting underneath him, and I wonder if they shifted under Lincoln Riley, and that's why we had this discussion today. Now I know today has not been one of these, you know, talks where I go nuts, but y'all got to remember that a lot of the vast majority of running these programs is is behind the scenes, and certainly we're only seeing the 15 times a year that Georgia plays. We're not seeing everything else that goes into it. And putting a leash on a monster is a very hard thing to do.